Next is Chris Brooks, and he is going to speak about work zone technologies. He is the MDOT's work zone delivery engineer, and he has been with the Department of Transportation for 15 years. So I will hand it over to Chris. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Heidi. So I'm going to talk a little bit about connected work zone technologies and some of the things that we've been doing. So one of the first things that I wanted to do with it is talking about connected versus smart. You may have heard both of these changes going through, but what we are seeing is there is a big difference between those. Connected means it's brought together or into contact with a link established. So basically we're identifying where that is. Whereas smart is really something that is programmed to be independent and take some action, or having some quick-witted intelligence or a comeback, or in my case a dad joke. So do you know why you would never brush your teeth with your left hand? It's because usually a toothbrush works much better. But instead of talking about what we have done, I'm going to show you a quick little video. Some of you may have seen this before, but it's going to cover some of the accomplishments and lead into what we are currently have done in the past, and then I'm going to lead into what we're currently have ongoing right now.
Work zones are getting smarter, and that means improved safety for motorists as well as road crews. The Michigan Department of Transportation has teamed up with General Motors to leverage new technology to alert drivers and their vehicle that they are approaching construction.
Work zone ahead.
We're demonstrating our ability to retrieve real-time road construction data from smart devices deployed along a job site along Interstate 96. We've got lane closure, arrow boards, we've got a variable speed limit sign, we've even got vests that construction workers are wearing to tell our cars where they are on the highway. So we're very excited about this collaboration between GM and Michigan DOT to improve public safety and to improve the awareness of our drivers, our customers, about what's going on around them in work sites.
Recently, an alert system was tested on I-96 in Oakland County, where MDOT is working on adding the state's second flex route. This busy corridor gave the team a chance to test in a highly congested area.
We know there's challenges out there. This is the first of its kind in the United States, actually being done on the road with the real work zone. So we're happy to have these partnerships because that has enabled us the opportunity to move this technology forward.
The ongoing partnership to improve safety is building on past success. The technology, first tested in November of 2021, can do things like send a signal to the vehicle and driver that there's a lane closure up ahead. The car recognizes that it needs to change lanes when it is safe to do so, and slow down to 60 miles per hour as it enters the work zone. Whether you're working on the roads or driving to work, these partnerships are leading to safer work zones.
People are more and more distracted today on the road, so having that, okay, shake, hey guys, you're going into place, you're going to a work zone, and by the way, they have real mom and pop and people working over there, so keep attention, be safe, and that way we'll have less incident and the workers will get back to their lovely one at the end of the day. That's the purpose of all of these.
Crews are still counting on you to do your part. Follow the rules of the work zone by slowing down and paying attention. The driver is still the most important safety feature of any vehicle.
So as was talked about, that was one of the first pilots that we did in the greater US, where we actually had that data feed and connected. So this is kind of overview. What we had marked in there, if you didn't catch it from the video, was the start and the end of the work zone, an arrow board, speed limit trailers, and then a worker location vest. So this is something that we did. And then taking this to the next step, one of the things that we wanted to try to pilot was, okay, we have the 45 workers present law in Michigan. Everyone always asks questions of, well, what does that really mean? When does that apply? So we have these signs that are available for use, but they weren't allowed to be used in Michigan. We actually had to get a law changed. That law did change in the Michigan Vehicle Code. that basically indicated that a digital speed limit display could be used, and we could have one or more flashing light to indicate that workers were present. I get the questions a lot of what does present mean? By the legal definition in the law, present means located in a proximity to a roadway that is not protected by guardrail or barrier wall. So in doing this, we tested this, but what we realized in the first time we put it out there is that we really needed some automation on this. The workers didn't always think to place the speed limit and change that. So here is an example of workers just downstream of that sign, but it did not get changed. The reason why we know that this is effective and will work, as you heard Dr. Gates speak this morning on some of the studies that we've done with digital speed limit trailers and digital speed limit signs, you can see some of the data and some of that flow that slowed down. But so that's kind of the why. But one of the first things that we were looking at for this is kind of that proposed solution of how do we do this? How do we get worker location? And one of the first things we tested was kind of looking at, okay, are workers capable of using an app on their phone to check in and check out of the work zone? And one of the things that we realized is that in doing this, people are pretty good about checking in, but they kind of forget to check out when they leave the work zone. I found people checking out at home. So we wanted to be non-diagnostics and kind of in the background of the workers and not really have them do anything. So in this, kind of our next steps as we put in for and we're awarded 2 commercial motor vehicle grants that MDOT is working on with the partners on the screen. There's 2 separate ones. We have the safe zone, which is looking at static work zones and connecting that to large trucks, which are overrepresented in work zone crashes and account for a lot of the fatalities and rear ends that occur. And then we are looking at mobile work zones, kind of having that more in real time, and we're calling the PAUSE project. So this is more, looking at striping operations or moving maintenance crews and how we're doing that. So a quick overview of kind of how some of this is planning on working. Don't want to spend too much time on this, but want to just kind of go over the architecture and how this is really working. So MDOT's back office system is really posting this out there, and then any external or internal partners can grab that. So a lot of times people say, well, is this only Waze? Is this only Google? How do people get it? That WorkZone data exchange feed is really open to anyone, and that sends out alerts. But how does this kind of happen? Well, on the roadway, we have these smart devices which are feeding data into a back office system, such as one of our partners that we're working with is Vermac. Their back office system then takes that information, feeds it into our system, and then that feeds out. We also are working with roadside units and video analytics on this project to look at using that to indicate when workers are present, when they're there, to notify that the work zone is active and there is credibility into what is posted. And then we're also looking at, some messaging if there's stop traffic, slow traffic ahead. We really want to get that into the infotainment alerts or the onboard units that are in the vehicles. And so that's kind of the data flow of how things are going. And then from the communications, how that's taking place is it goes to those third-party data, then that's all over, LTE wireless communication that is taking place from the traffic control devices talking to the server, talking to our back office. And then there's a lot of processing that goes on the side of the road too, and those are communicating to vehicles with onboard unit. The whole idea of this is that when the motorist is driving on the roadway and there's workers, they will get something like this that says there is a striping crew ahead. And this is a real life example that took place a couple months ago, where we were one of our partners from PK was driving in a Jeep Wrangler down the road and had their Uconnect on, and their equipment up ahead was equipped with the sensor. And then this came through, and this is happening today in vehicles that are on the road. I know we've worked a lot with GM, and they posted something that says they have 15 million vehicles on the roadway that can take this information in today. So I'm all about doing new things and kind of setting records of personal bests. So I think this may be the quickest, hot off the press update from a deployment to a presentation. less than 24 hours ago, we have another pilot project that is just kicked off. Just yesterday, we were out in the field doing it, and what we're doing is working on automating the digital speed limit displays that are in our work zones when workers are present based upon their location. So I'll kind of go in a little bit on how we're doing this. So this is set up to where eventually it'll be something that is embedded in the worker vest, but right now that light indication that you see on the screen there in the bottom right is being placed into different work crews that are on the roadway. And then as those work crews are on the roadway, we have digital speed limit trailers like on the left there. We have 5 of those, and then one of the speed wizards, which you see in the middle there on this work zone. So when it's set up, and what you'll see here is this is a screenshot from yesterday at 10:50 a.m. of how the system is working. So as you'll see, when those traffic would be traveling left on your screen. So this is in the westbound direction on I-96 by M50, just outside of Grand Rapids there. So when that worker is upstream or past the sign that is upstream would then display 45 flashing. So you can see where the cone is and when that sign would change. If there's not a worker in that segment, it would then post 60 to the motorist. So this is really trying to give the motorist that alert in real time what the actual speed limit is when those workers are present. So this is how this project is kicking off. We just started it and had a lot of really good feedback from yesterday. Still a lot of different things to flush out and to figure out with this, but working with the team that we have out there and getting this out there, this is the first time, once again, that I'm aware of that this has ever been done, communicating with worker present sensors and speed limit trailers and actually changing the speed based upon the conditions in real time. So here's another example later on at 150. As you can see, some of the workers moved and the signs changed. The cones on the screen, the green and the red don't have any meaning. It's just the different sensors that are being utilized. Like I said, eventually this will be something that's embedded in the vest that all the workers are wearing, but right now they have to have that external sensor, and we're trying to kind of get that programming and different things there. So as you can see, the different layout and what the sensors are showing and how that's displayed. And then just to prove that this was actually going on out there, here's a picture from that project. So if you're driving Monday through Thursday on westbound 96, this will be displayed. These will be out there. And then two, one of the things that we get a lot is, okay, what's happening? How is this being tracked? Will we know? So this is an older screenshot of the feedback when we were doing some of the layouts. I haven't gotten the feedback of the actual testing and timestamps from yesterday, but what we can do is we can actually go in there and see when it was that each one of those boards changed and changed back. So we actually have documentation at each board and each digital speed limit trailer as to what was displayed and what was on there and what time that changed. And then we can use that to, look at where the workers are going, how they're progressing on the roadway, what time, they start working. And so with this being automated, it's really been helpful to the workers to where when they go past that time, that location, that sign will change, update automatically. And then once they leave that area, then that'll go back up. So the whole goal and idea of this is to really get motorists to respect that 45 workers present and let them know, hey, when this is on and flashing, workers are here. And when no one is there, we're raising that speed limit back up. And then over the weekend, this lane closure will be pulled down about Thursday night. And then those trailers will post 70 miles per hour on when there is no closure in place. And so this also reduces the amount of worker exposure that we have going out there from uncovering and covering speed limit signs. So there's a multitude of benefits that come from this, not only from the the motorist perspective of higher compliance and greater speed reduction and kind of safer traveling, but also from the worker exposure aspect of not having to change those signs in those displays. And so this also is being fed into Waze and things like that. So there's just a screenshot of what's coming up from a Waze user, and then just kind of another screenshot of the overview of all the different things that are in the back office system that we can see with all the different sensors. There's 14 sensors. Not all of them have been out and activated. There's some weather delays that occurred on this project this week, so the intensity is not high. But next week we should have all 14 sensors out there and running, changing those speed limits, and doing that. So if you're driving through that area, take a look, or if you want to go out of your way, it's going on for the next 4 weeks, Monday through Thursday. So if you want to drive through the live demo for the the first time it's ever being done in the greater US or anywhere for that matter, it is happening in the next couple of weeks. So feel free to take a drive through there, and I will monitor the chat to see if there's any questions that.
Thank you, Chris. That was great information. I think that would be great to implement that statewide to keep those workers safe, to make sure they make it home to their families each night. So thank you for that innovative project and moving things forward.